Alicia Camper. I am 45 years old. I live here in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I decided to find my half-brother after 41 years of him not having any contact with our family. Everybody asks me this question: did you know he existed? How long have you known that he existed? How long did he know you existed? Well, the easy answer to David is that he didn't know I existed till I knocked on his door, like very late July, early August on a Wednesday afternoon. But I have known about David's potential existence for, I don't know, probably at least 30 some years. I remember about the age of 10 going through my parents' wardrobe, in particular my dad's, and you're an only child and you're bored and nobody else is home with you, you go through your parents' belongings, right? And isn't that what like normal 10-year-olds do? So I went through their paperwork and I found a picture of a little boy, and I asked my mom, because I was petrified to even ask my dad about it, and she said, oh, that's possibly your dad's son from a previous marriage, but he's not his son because she slept around. Like, we don't even know if your dad's the father, and so just don't even worry about it because he's never had any contact with him. And I was like, well, that's weird. Like, I always wanted a sibling. Like, I was an only child my whole life, right? Like, and I was like, in my teens, I got mad at my parents when we get in fights, and I'd be like, you need to have another kid, or like, you need to find my half brother. And they would be like, my dad then would be like, don't ever bring that up. Don't talk about it. He doesn't exist. He's not your half brother. You don't want anything to do with that family, with this like fearful look in his eye. And I thought, well, here's my dad, this big, tall, 6'3" dude. Like, how is he afraid of another human being, you know, potentially a kid? But I just never really pursued it. And then in my 20s, I got distracted with life. And then 30s, I thought about it again as I started to have my own kids. But I got warned by multiple family members, my aunt and uncle and my mom, like, his ex-wife is crazy. They'll come after you for money. You're going to have to hire a lawyer. And I was like, I can't afford that, right? Like, this isn't going to make sense. So in my 40s, I just decided now's the time. I have come to that point in my life where I make more money than I can spend. I've got my 3 beautiful kids. I have my house of my dreams. I've got the career I've always wanted. Frick, I'm moving towards city council, and I don't want anybody to find any skeletons in my closet as I'm getting into this political arena. Now's the time. And so I interviewed my aunt and uncle separately on different occasions, and was able to discern from them that there definitely was a previous relationship, a marriage that occurred, and there might have been a son. There might have even been 2 sons, which got me even more intrigued. And then Father's Day, I spent probably about an hour and a half, for the better word, interviewing my dad on the phone. I said, okay, I'm an adult. He's an adult. Now's the time to I need to talk to him about this. I've never had the courage to do it. I'm going to do it now. And that was this calendar year, or no, 2021, on Father's Day. And he just answered every question I gave him. I could tell there were moments where he was getting stressed out, but the weirdest thing was that there was no emotional context to his answers. They were very much about what car he owned, what make and model it was, what features it had on the car. And that was how the conversation went from tell me about 1964 through 1972. It was literally the car he owned. He couldn't remember people's names. He couldn't remember their birth dates. He couldn't remember maybe what city he was in for sure at that time, but he could tell you what car he owned, right? And this all had kind of come about, kind of missed part of the story here, where maybe that prior Christmas, everyone in the family agreed that my dad's probably on the spectrum. So he's probably got Asperger's, maybe. He's almost 80 years old now. There's no way he's going to go get officially diagnosed. But the conversation came about because he and my mom were watching a Netflix, like a documentary about Asperger's. And at the end, they listed 31 or 35 traits of somebody with Asperger's. And my dad has 31 of those 35. My mom has 3. So we're like, oh, that explains a lot. Like, so between that conversation and just getting to that point in my life where I didn't want to put anything off that was that important, I just decided on this, like, I think it was either August 31st or September, somewhere in that time frame, July, August, September. It was a Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. and I didn't have a lot of work to do that day. And I said, today's the day. I'm driving to Dayton. I'm going to probate court. I'm going to call the vital statistics office in Columbus. I'm going to find him. And they're all like, you're crazy. Like, this isn't going to happen. You're not going to get this done in one day. I was like, well, I got to start somewhere, right? So today's the day. And essentially by the time I got up there, found my parents' marriage certificate, David and his mom and my dad's marriage certificate, her next marriage certificate, so Joan Elaine Bennett is her name. Then calling vital statistics on the phone, looking up obituaries, finding a random aunt that still lives in Beaver Creek, Ohio, that is very much alive, and who had the nerve, right, as I was like kind of giving her information, to talk to me for a good hour on the phone. Like, she literally at one point said, you know way too many details to be a hoax or a scam, so go ahead and ask me a question. I haven't talked to my sister in over 25 years, but I'll answer any question you ask me, right? So between all of that, by 5 o'clock at night, I had figured out David's full name, his birth date, and his address, and his phone number. And I thought, if I call this guy, he's gonna think I'm crazy. He might just hang up on me. So I was like, it's on my way home. I called my husband. I said, I'll either be home in like an hour or 45 minutes, or I won't be home for several hours. And he's like, what are you talking about? So I don't want to tell you why, but call my parents. I didn't actually call my parents and tell them I was gonna drive down, because I didn't want anybody to talk me out of it. Because once I knocked on that door, there was no going back. Like, there was no like, oh, okay, I can take this all back. So I just did it. I was down at 5:30. I didn't park in the driveway because I didn't want them to come out and, like, I don't know, like, call me a trespasser or something. I don't know what the thought behind my head was, but I parked on the street. I saw movement in the window and I knocked on that front door, and his wife answered the door, and I said, hey, does David James Burt live here? Born in 1970 in St. Elizabeth Hospital in Montgomery County, Dayton, Ohio. And she's like, yeah, that's a really weird question. Like, yes, those are all facts that are accurate, you know, but who are you? Because she said at first she thought I was trying to sell them lawn service. And I said, well, there's a really good chance that I am his half-sister. And I don't cry. She literally, I could see her like reach her hand in the background and grab him out of the foyer, who had just come out of the shower, and she's like, David, your sister is here. So I see him, and I'm just like, for me, it was instant. Like, there was no doubt whatsoever that David was my brother. In fact, because there's so many body similarities, just the way we stand, like where we hold our body weight. Like, his hair had gotten lighter over the years, so we definitely almost have the same blonde hair at this point, and we look so much like our grandmother, like my dad's mom. It's crazy how much we look like Tilly. That for me, it was just like, 30 years or more of like this mental process coming to a close. And then there's poor David, who's like, holy shit, I thought my dad died, because that's what my mom told, his mother told him that my dad had died in a motorcycle accident, maybe like 20, 30 years ago. And yes, my dad did have 2 accidents with a motorcycle. One of them he was hospitalized for, but he didn't die in either one of them, obviously. And so here he has like a sister he never knew about, a father who's definitely still alive. And for him trying to sort through what his mom told him that was truth, half-truths, and like complete lies, right? And just trying to sort through that. And his kids were like, are you sure, Dad? Are you sure she's not a scam artist? Like, because I got that from my family too. The whole thing was like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And like, he knew, I knew, Meredith, his wife, knew, right? She deals with, like, so she's like a psychologist by training, right? And or a therapist. And his one daughter, Elizabeth, had just left to go away to college, but like nearby college, like a 30-minute drive away. And he called her, or Meredith called her and told her the story, and she's like, no way, this woman's a scam artist. So she drove back home that night that I was sitting there eating dinner with David, and she kind of looks at me and looks at him like, I'm getting the full like scan, like, are you really who you say you are? And she's asking me a couple of questions, and at some point, like, she finally accepts that, yes, I'm her aunt, right? Like, this is legitimate. Like, I'm not some scary person with bad intentions. And she looks at me and says something like, do you think you maybe missed your calling in life? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I think you should have been a private detective. And I was like, oh, that means she accepts me for what I am. And, you know, I love that quirkiness and sarcasm, you know, that came with her, and that comes with her, I should say. And I don't know, for me, that just kind of like, oh, she's family. So today is the day that David and I are going to drive to the airport and pick up my parents at roughly 10 o'clock at night. And this will be the first time David will have an adult memory of meeting his father and being in the same room as his biological dad. And we'll see how it goes. I'm super excited. It's been a long process. I feel guilty for not having done this sooner. I wish I would have done this at a younger age, but you know, adults make decisions, and then you become an adult and you make your own decisions. So that's kind of where I'm looking at this. I'm super excited, a little bit excited, a little bit nervous, a little bit of everything. I think it's going to be amazing. I think this is going to be the new chapter of Christmases from now on. You know, we have a much larger family, and I can't say how grateful I am for everything. So yeah. We'll see. Oh yeah. And then I interviewed David when he came over before we left to go to the airport. That's this one.
So this is.
And he was like weirded out. And then my husband in the background is making him feel even more weird. I'm like, shut up.
Right. So you had to get the.
So I gave him some bourbon.
Gave him some bourbon. You guys were definitely trying to mellow out before, and we didn't have to go through all of this, but.
So I used to be filmed.
And then he kept obsessing about his weight, and we were like, stop it.
Right. So that's what I was going to ask you, was like, there was that obviously some uncomfortable moments that he was worried about what he looked like. You know, he was worried
what
about
impression he was going to leave. Yeah.
He was trying to give you. Were you worried about any impressions that you were trying, I mean, any kind of emotional, any kind of like...
I thought I had predicted, because I don't know, my brain doesn't work the way my dad's brain works, or David's, right? I really thought there'd be a small chance that my dad would cry. I did. And then when he didn't, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, that guy doesn't cry. Like, he doesn't have any emotional context to, like... I think I've seen him cry, like, twice my whole life. And then not just in a manly way, I don't cry, but, like, he just doesn't, like... He doesn't get worked up about things that other people would be worked up about, but he gets worked up about things that other people would just let roll off their back. Like, he might cry about something that frustrated him, but in an emotional family context, like, I don't think he cried when his mom died, like, or his dad died, right? Like, he's just not that kind of person. So I guess I should have been more prepared for his lack of emotional response, but, I don't know, you have all those like thoughts in your head where you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be like in slow motion, them running into each other's arms and all that. But we literally had to tell my dad at the airport, hug him, give him a hug, right? Because we were like, and then I recalled I had to tell my aunt, his little sister, my dad's little sister, Kathy, the same thing the first time she met David in the driveway, right? And like, I was like, Kathy, give him a hug, right? Because I think that's in our genes or in our like culture of my dad's side of the family. They're just not huggers, right? They're not emotionally driven people, or at least not on the surface. Maybe there's emotions underneath, but they don't open up about their emotions. And whether that's the Serbian or Lithuanian, or it was just the personality traits of their parents that conveyed that, like, I just have to remind myself.
Yeah.
So it was kind of anticlimactic at the airport, to be totally honest. I mean, I'm glad everybody was filming it and everybody got to see everything, but it was just, I thought there would be more of like this epiphany or this moment, and it didn't come. And then it almost became comical on the way home, like how everybody kind of separated out into how they were walking towards the car and who was walking with whom. And then once in the car, that was highly entertaining.
Gardner.
Use whatever name you think is appropriate. You're David James Bird, a.k.a. Alexander David Gardner.
That's right.
Right? Okay. I need to drink this.
Right.
Oh, that's harsh. So
I used to be thin at one time. I'm now old, balding, and that's just what happened.
well, old happens.
I used to be a good-looking guy at one time.
So roughly 49 years ago, your mom removed you from the household that your dad was in.
Yeah. And nobody knows why. I mean, we don't know why.
Changed your life
I don't know.
forever.
Don, do you know why?
Huh?
So we don't know. Like, maybe they got in a fight. Maybe they didn't get in a fight. Maybe she found something more enticing. I don't know. We don't know why.
So I definitely have some. I don't know how much you want recorded.
Go for it.
So
You can edit it.
yeah. So there was some stuff with things that were said about Alex that were not flattering.
He's not perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it was more violent
Right.
in nature.
When you meet him, you're going to realize he couldn't hurt a flea.
Right. And my mom is a proven pathological liar, so we know that.
Yeah. So
Um,
what is the part about tonight that most maybe excites you or scares you
I don't know.
about meeting him?
I don't know what emotionally how I'm acting is just too new and too weird. I've lived my whole life saying I don't have anyone on my side of the family. When we got married, I didn't have anyone on my side except my mom and my brother. Those were the only people on, so we planned my wedding where we just didn't do sides like you traditionally do.
Right. There wasn't enough people. I mean, the
Yeah.
same thing for my wedding, like with Dawn.
Right.
99% of the people were there, family-wise, Dawn's side. Because all I have is my mom and my dad, because even they didn't have a good relationship with my dad's brother and sister at the time. Now it's better. Now, like, people are friendly, like, communicating. But even back then, that was it.
So I have questions. So
Go for it.
So my whole life, I never had any interest of finding my father for the reason that, one, I was told that he had been killed in a motorcycle accident.
He has owned motorcycles historically on a regular basis.
In the 70s. And then
all the way up until like the 90s, he was owning motorcycles.
I owned motorcycles.
He had a crotch rocket for a while. We were all like, what does Alex have a crotch rocket
I know.
for?
So when I turned 30, I bought an FZ1000, which is a leader.
You that.
A crotch rocket.
Yeah. Like, he had no business like riding it like
Right.
no business.
So I was 30 years old.
I think he was in his 60s when he had it. We were like,
So, and then I got rid of my bikes because we had 4 kids.
okay, but let's go back. So
Yeah.
she told you that your dad died. Your mom told you your dad died.
So I had no interest. Plus,
You're
there
asking
was,
me a question.
and it wasn't a positive that he had died, but it was a possibility. And then she had mentioned that he was abusive and those kind of things that obviously made me have no interest in trying to find such a monster. Right. So, but
And
then,
just so you know that they put a family, his family, and our dad, and maybe his wife, probably to a certain extent, also positioned your mom as a monster.
yeah, I believe it.
So they discouraged me at every turn in defining you because A, they didn't know if you were really my brother, and B, they said your mom was crazy and a gold digger and that she would not have anybody's best interest at mind. And so if I pursued you, you would sue me or come after me or be
Like
just
I
as
would?
bad. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Be just as bad as your mom because they never had much of a positive experience with her.
Oh.
And so that's why they constantly discouraged me from finding you, was
That
because
sucks.
he might be just as crazy as his mom,
Because I
and then
think,
his stepfather was crazy too, so like, you don't want anything to do with him.
I think one of my biggest regrets, or I don't know regrets, biggest wishes that I could be changed is that we would have found each other earlier. I would have loved to have been in your wedding. I would have loved to see your kids be born. I would have loved been a part of your family.
You have no idea how badly I wanted a sibling. You at least had a sibling.
I never knew you existed, so I never knew to look for you.
I knew you existed, but I wasn't mature and capable enough to find you until...
Well, you did it, and here we are. So,
and your mom changed your name. She made it really hard for us.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find them, and he even
changed
said...
your name multiple times, right?
Right, so, like, our dad said he even did look for you under Alexander David Gardner and couldn't find you. But I don't know how hard he looked, but he did tell me at one point he looked.
Right.
But he couldn't find anybody with that name.
Yeah, so I guess there's some questions there, like, why didn't he look? You know, I know that at least I had been told from my dad and my stepdad, Dr. Bert, legally, I guess, adopted dad. I don't know what you call it.
Right.
Whatever it is. That because of his violent nature, right?
I'm sorry, I laughed every time you say that.
I know. That my dad was connected with the mafia in Dayton. And he was. And the reason how he was, a guy's name was Bill Stepp. And he got connected with the mafia because Bill Stepp's wife, this mafia guy in Dayton, the head mafia guy, his wife was dying of cancer, and he was an obstetrician, saved his wife from cancer.
Right. Oh, yeah, you said
so there was like this, I owe you one kind of thing, right? But Bill Stepp was a monster, somebody you don't want to get involved with those people, right? Anyways, I mean, he would always come to him, and I'd hear stories how Bill Stepp would come to him and say, hey, I want you to write a bunch of prescriptions, you know, and my dad supposedly refused.
In front of you, but you don't know what he did.
I never know what he did. Yeah. I don't know what he did or what he didn't do. But he always told me he refused it, so I have to go on that. But anyways, he said that he asked pretty much Bill to step to encourage Alex to not be involved. So
you think he contacted your dad and told him not to be involved?
No, I think Dr. Burt told Bill Stepp to send Alex a message not to be involved.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then when I talk with
crazy stories about CIA and all this stuff.
I don't know about the CIA and all that.
But he could have built this paranoid story from an experience he had from somebody who came and maybe gave him like a verbal talking to.
Well, we don't know about what he's. You know, who knows? Alex may have done things with the CIA. I've done things in the military that are not completely.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying I'm CIA or anything, but. There's things, right?
There's probably still a lot more information to be
but when
identified.
When I talked with Alex at an outing with my wife's brother, I talked with Alex on the phone, and he said that he had this kind of experience that's kind of matching up with what my dad said. So
somebody came and talked to him and said, "You're not going to pursue this."
So
can we go over there, please? Go over with Alex.
What I have is, from my perspective, I'm trying to piece together a puzzle from half truths. So I talked to Alex,
Even Alex isn't given full truths because he doesn't retain the information that most people would retain.
We don't know, but the one thing is.
He couldn't remember your name.
I talked with Alex.
He couldn't remember your name when I talked to him on Father's Day. He couldn't remember your mom's last name. He couldn't remember her
almost
middle
50
name.
years. I don't blame him. You know what? And another thing is I have anomia issues.
Anomia?
Yeah. So I have trouble remembering names.
Oh, okay.
Which
you got that from your dad.
Yeah.
Because he's the same way.
Exactly.
But.
No, literally.
Okay. So he could tell me names, birthdays.
Here's an important fact.
But he could tell me what car, make, and model he owned, what year.
Okay. Let me tell this part.
Yeah.
So I talked with Alex on the phone, and I'm trying to piece together these half truths. These things about the mafia, and then him being threatened. They're kind of matching up, right? Because he said he was kind of threatened. He had his car burnt. All kinds of weird things happened.
His car was burned.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
It was a threat, right?
I I never thought about that. It could.
So then I asked him, and I'm putting these half truths
It's
together.
Shepherd.
I'm putting these half truths together, and I said, you know, my mom said she used to race in Hawaii. And he goes, I don't remember anything about Elaine racing in Hawaii. And I go, wait a minute, she even told me the car that she raced. And I said, she said she raced a Toyota GT2000. He said, I owned a Toyota GT2000. Do you see where the half truths are matching up?
Wow.
And he goes, not only that, but her and her boyfriend, like, we don't know if it was her boyfriend. I don't know if Alex knows, whatever.
He was
But
making assumptions, yeah.
suspected boyfriend took the car out, they wrecked it, and tried to repair it, was what Alex had told me.
Which I
Now, Alex may watch this later and dispute or
I
whatever.
believe
but,
that. I believe that story.
but there's,
His cars, he's right about.
yeah, so there's these half truths that are going around, and trying to piece together really what happened is a definite puzzle, right?
So this is a crazy question. Have you thought about contacting your mother?
No. My mother made it quite clear in the letter I showed you that she wants to have contact.
And so when I asked Dad, like, do
And
you want me to
I
contact
will have
her?
Alex read that letter as
When
well.
I asked
So he
Alex,
knows.
I said, do you want me to contact her? He's like, hell no, don't contact her. Don't. She's crazy. She'll come after you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So that's
Like, he
one of the
almost had like
things.
fear in his face.
Yeah.
But now I understand why, maybe. Because he might even associate her with the whole mafia experience.
Yeah.
And, like burning cars down.
I believe it. Yeah. So there's something else I was going to tell you. I don't know what it was. You know what's funny? You and I were talking on the phone, and you and I are exactly alike because we talk over each other, and we didn't even stop each other.
No, it's freakish.
We
Like,
do that.
I'm like, I've never had an experience
You and I
with
like the
somebody.
same. Between you
We like
and
the same food,
Rick.
the same drinks.
Yes.
We're both a little bit snobby, but not snobby at the same time. Like, we like posh stuff without being posh. I don't know how to explain that. Like,
You're a little cheaper than I am. You are.
it's my mom.
She's cheap.
Allie's over there nodding her head.
Yeah, yeah.
I get that
So-
from my mother.
Yeah. So not me. I'm not super cheap, but I'm not.
Allie, where's the
extravagant.
phone?
I manage my wealth well.
I don't see
At
it.
least I think it.
Oh, it's over here now. Okay. You have to like stop and like we have to like take video clips.
So, just so you know, this is the fattest I've ever been in my entire life. Right now, I'm the heaviest I've ever
okay,
been.
are you willing to say how much you weigh? I'm filming. I'm 165.
285. I'm a pig.
You are
It's
not a
terrible.
pig.
You know what? So, I weighed. So
Hire a personal trainer. That's what I do.
I'm a good weight for me, believe it or not, is about 240.
Yeah.
Is it like, and I
You look
look
like 20
thin.
pounds. Get a
I look
trainer.
thin.
Get a personal trainer. That's what I do.
I
won't
need to
work
lose
out
like
with
40, 50 pounds.
I don't work out without a personal trainer. It doesn't happen. I can get gym memberships. I can sign up for classes. But if I have like a trainer, I actually show up and do
Well,
it.
you know
'Cause I
what?
feel badly. If I
All
don't
of this
show up.
happened right about 40. When I hit 40, like if you look at picture, there's a picture of me at my 20th high school reunion or whatever, and I look good. I look okay. You know what I mean? I'm not.
You got two good-looking parents, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not heavy. And between 40 and 50, I don't know if it was stress, genetics, and not Gardner
Allie.
genetics, but probably
Well,
bending
our dad can get.
genetics. I
Our
guess.
dad's gotten heavy over time if he's not careful, but then he goes on like the whole like Atkins,
Yeah.
you know, keto
Because he's
diet.
super probably disciplined.
Yes, he's kind of disciplined.
Yeah.
But he loves chocolate and sweets.
Really? See, I'm totally not sweets.
He is a chocolate and sweet tooth. Like I can be like,
So that's interesting. I do not like
this
chocolate.
is the best
I am,
chocolate cake on the planet, and he'll eat it even though it's not inside.
so I'm not chocolate, and I'm not sweet. I'm more savory and.
Okay.
What,
It's
so
more
that's
like
interesting.
Dawn. Yeah, he has a sweet tooth.
Yeah. No,
My
I
mom
do
does
have
not.
sweet tooth.
My mom does not have a sweet tooth, but our dad definitely has a sweet tooth. I can like sneak in.
So how did you feel when you saw the DNA thing come back? I was like,
I knew the answer.
So how did you?
I thought I just wasted $130. That's
Right.
what I thought.
Well, so I
Because
paid,
I'm cheap.
I paid $230 something You only paid a fraction.
I know, but I'm like, I wasted a bunch of money, but
Busted my
I knew
balls.
it from the beginning. Look at us. Like, look at the pictures. Like, we even hold our shoulders the same way. Our body weight,
So
the
I
distribution,
don't pay
everything is the
attention
same.
to my.
Only your nose
my
and your
mannerisms.
lips are different than mine. That's it. Like,
So
our
I've
head
been bending
shape.
cleft.
Right, and I have my mom's nose and mouth. You'll see, like, this is my grandfather, my mom's dad's, like, nose and mouth.
Yeah.
But everything else is the same. I didn't know that. I didn't realize I looked that much like my dad.
I think, and this is kind of weird. One of the most things I was really relieved about, and this is terrible, but you guys were conservatives. That was actually a thing. I was just like, oh my God,
What
what
if
if
they're
they're like
crazy
some
liberals?
crazy liberals? Seriously. I was like, I don't know how I deal with that.
And I, even more so than my husband, am a huge Trump fan. Like, I mean, he's more libertarian, I'm more Trump, right?
Yeah. Well,
and then
I mean,
our
Trump's
dad
not
is
the
like,
greatest guy
our dad-
on the planet, but I mean, he governed.
I don't
Well,
want to be
his
his
policies
friend.
were
I
good.
just want him to run my country.
Yes.
But, so you know that our dad has a, not small, I would say large, maybe you even call it a problem, obsession with Elon Musk.
Yeah. So I talked with him about that. So I am a huge
But
Elon
you know,
Musk
Elon
fan
Musk
myself. Yeah.
has Asperger's.
Mm.
Self-proclaimed Asperger's. And his whole family, a lot of them are on the spectrum and they're all entrepreneurs and all very intelligent, but like, I feel like in some degree that may be why he's like understands his language or whatever. But no, I mean, for me, like and you can ask my husband, I didn't talk to our dad for maybe 10 or 15 years. 10 years at least.
Yeah. So that was
Like,
kind
not
of
disowned him on like with a letter like your mom, but I refused to talk to him. I refused to call him. I refused to have anything to do with him because I was really angry about how he treated his mother when she passed away.
Yeah.
So she was in nursing homes and his sister Aunt Kathy took care of her. And I went and go visited her. I dragged my whole family up. I go visit her. I put her on the phone with
So I
him.
have pictures. And this is an odd thing. My mom,
And he wouldn't come visit her.
probably when I was about 38, my mom gave me, I mean, this is later in life,
Pictures
right?
of
38. She gave me these pictures of the ones I showed you, of the grandparents. And I'm like, at first I'm like, this is somebody I don't want to have anything to do with, and was such an awful person.
Why would you save the picture?
Why would you? Not only she saved them, but she gave them to me.
So Tilly was a
And she always said that she liked Uncle Rich. I'm just saying that because we're being recorded.
Tilly was a pickle. Maybe that's the nicest way of putting it. Our grandmother was a tough broad.
And was
And she was all of maybe
is she Serbian or Lithuanian?
Serbian.
Serbian.
She was all of maybe 4'8", maybe. And she.
So why are Alex and I so tall?
It's kind of puts like I remember she would say these like crazy things and like you would just be like you would like give her like her space.
Right.
And like she spoke a lot of times in I don't know what the language was to be honest. And she had a crazy clown collection. She liked clowns. Like the creepy clowns.
I hate clowns.
And Disney. She was a big Disney fan, which I did like. And Lady and the Tramp was one of her favorite movies, so she got like an original like photograph in there. I think my parents still have it from the movie production. But she was tough as nails, and like you didn't mess with Tilly. Like nobody messed with Tilly. Like we were all afraid of Tilly. She wasn't like the warm and fuzzy, like give her a hug kind of grandma. It was the grandma who was like spatula on the countertop, like you're gonna like show up to breakfast immediately. Like there was no questions asked.
Right.
And then Grandpa was like the sweetest, nicest, docile, like tall beast of a man, right? And he ate his oatmeal every single day religiously. And if you want to do math equations, he would talk to you, but otherwise he pretty much didn't talk to you. Like he and my cousin
I wish I could have
Dan
known.
would spend hours doing math
Was
together.
I alive when they were alive?
Yeah.
So I could have met them. That sucks.
Like Tilly only died maybe.
Because I had the
Alex
pictures.
was
I had
maybe
the
like
pictures
6.
of them.
So it's probably about 6 years ago that she passed away. But she was a vegetable man because she went in for hip replacement and never came out of the anesthesia the same person. So she probably had a stroke while she was in surgery.
Yeah.
So she came out a bit of a vegetable And like, she didn't know who I was when I got to visit her because I didn't see her that much as a kid.
So I have those pictures of them in
Yeah.
Detroit. I guess they had a home in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And it's so weird how just
And like part of Detroit now you don't want to live in.
Yeah, life kind of drags you into a certain situation. I always went up to Detroit before that. And
Well, your brother grew up in the area.
when I was 16, so they were probably alive
Oh yeah.
during that time. And I was going up to visit my brother at Eastern Michigan University, where he was going. And I would go up there all the time, and we'd go to Greektown, and when Greektown was good.
We'd
And
go
then I'd
get
go to
like
Windsor.
Hamtramck and all that.
Oh yeah,
Let's
we
go to
go to
Hamtramck.
all those places. And just, it's so crazy that
Dude,
I've kind of drug up
Dude,
into the area where people are,
you and I have always lived 30 minutes apart. Except when I lived in California for a couple of years. That's it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
who knows where you were
maybe
at
at
that
that
time.
point I was in Saudi or
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
you were
in some
probably-
other place.
Exactly. But like, I grew up in Vandalia High, you grew up in Centerville. I now live in Madeira, and you live in Liberty Township. Both of those cities are all 30 minutes apart.
Flip-flop, right?
Yeah, 30 minutes apart.
Vandalia, Centerville, where I live. Madeira.
Yeah, I just went over 30 south. It's so crazy. So, what are you hoping to get out of tonight?
I don't know. I
Closure?
think this is no.
Like realization that he's real? Like when you touch him, like he's real?
Honestly,
like what is it? What's your goal?
I'm not expecting much. I'm expecting to go through tonight and have us meet, and then after that, we'll figure it out after that. But you can't expect much the first day, and the first thing
he's
is
gonna be
just
zonked and
let it happen
tired.
and have us meet, and I think it's a little bit of a shame in the sense that we didn't have more time, right? Because you can have worse people.
I mean, at
right?
least he's not.
You can have worse people as sons come back and stuff.
You're not a bad son at all. I mean, like,
no, I agree with that. I'm just saying that you could have worse situations where you would be like,
everybody's
my
still
son's
alive.
strung out on drugs or something like
Well,
that.
everybody's still alive. Everybody's in good health. Everybody's capable of making full-on adult decisions. It's
Yeah.
not like, somebody's on their deathbed or like.
Right, but I'm 51 and he's 77.
He's as fit as a fiddle, man. He takes so good care of himself. He's like
But
fastidious
you would
about
agree
it.
that there's been some years missed, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and
Either
the
the
regret,
ignorance or
like
choice. I don't
one of
know.
the biggest regrets still, like obviously Alex, it would be great to had a more of a relationship with my dad. Had him see me get my first house. Had him see me, ask him about investments that I'm doing. Like talk to him about software I'm writing. Those kind of things would have been neat. Have him, meet, the people in my life. That would have been neat. But
If it makes you feel any better, I didn't have that kind of relationship with him either.
yeah, was that by choice?
No, he just never offered it. I would ask for it, and it never happened. He never presented an opportunity for me to ask him for advice. Or I would think in my head, I'm not going to trust what he says.
Well, who knows? I've never met him. I don't know him. I don't know anything.
So I'm hoping
Except
that you
from what
guys
you
have a
said.
better relationship than I had with him, because
Well,
mine was problematic. But now that I understand he's got Asperger's or autism or he's on the spectrum or whatever, now I'm like, I feel terrible for being kind of mean to him and not being understanding.
Yeah.
But
so,
I had the option and I kind of threw it away. You never had the option.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys will click better than me. I mean, he flat out told me when I was a kid that because I was a boy, he didn't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
I was sick. Like I remember it was like around 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that time frame.
Do you think it would have been better if I was there?
Oh yeah.
Do you think I would have been the favorite son?
Oh hell yeah. I was like his son and daughter. I tried to be his son. I couldn't be his son because I'm not a boy. I mean, I tried, but I couldn't do it. Like I can't talk physics. I don't want to talk physics. I'm not interested in physics. I'm not interested in computer software programming. So no, we're going to airport. They're supposed to be landing at 10:19 on Allegiant Airlines because my parents are cheap. Got a really cheap flight. So land on Christmas Eve on Allegiant. Oh no, but I've seen it around.
Okay,
And-
since we're on camera, who's the coolest uncle?
You. Well, like I don't want to be late. Like I'm always late for everything. But in this moment, I don't want to be late because I want to get there, get my spot. Because every time my parents fly in from Vegas or from Salt Lake City, not normally on Delta, they always show up like 10 or 15 minutes early. And I miss them at that entry point. I have to go hunt for them at baggage claim. Anyway, so what?
We're back.
Well,
This is hilarious.
I guess it's going to be determined by how
Just trying to decide who the seating assignment. In my car, that easily sits 8 people, but yet everybody's like freaked out who's going to sit next to who. Because again, like, this is not something that you can emotionally just let happen because there's going to be very limited emotions on one side of this coin, high emotions on the other side of the coin. So, like, I was just trying to arrange the seating assignments before it became potentially a problem. Yeah. Like, I'm like, Dad's going to sit in the front. I mean, like, there's no way around that because he's never not, in my entire life, not sat in the front seat of the car. And when he has to sit in the back, he's worse than my husband and complains nonstop because he doesn't have any leg room.
Or you in the middle, my grandma will sit
So.
in the middle. She likes to sit in the middle.
But then I got David, who's just as tall, and I'm like, oh no, how's this going to work out?
Yeah, I know. Arrangement for what?
We're back.
Well, I think that's going to be determined by how
Should I put my
it
granny
works
glasses
out.
on? These glasses make my face look huge.
I don't know. I don't even know if I have stuff in the trunk right now.
Oh, we should definitely make sure because we got luggage, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I can fold my third seat down. There'll be plenty of room back there.
Yeah, and they have to get in the back, so it's gonna be crowded back there.
Well, my question, that's what Allie's asking is, like, are
I'll get in the
you
back.
going to sit in the back
I'll
seat
sit in
with
the back.
Dad and Mom sits up front because his legs are long and he almost always sits in the front?
Yeah, he needs to be able to sit in the right spot.
You want Grandma to sit next to you in the middle and then David on the other side? Sure. Okay, perfect. Or you in the middle, but Grandma will sit in the middle. She likes to sit in the middle. Okay, you can sit in the middle. I know where I'm going to be sitting on the way home. Right here. Sorry.
What I just said.
So how are you feeling about this whole thing?
So this is what my husband tells me is wrong with me, and I know is wrong with me is I don't get nervous.
Yeah.
But I also don't read people's cues sometimes.
No, I
mean, I'm really good at reading people. That's really messed up because in sales, I'm really
But you
good at
have
reading
less
people.
nervous reason than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I have less nervous reason, but like I get in front of a crowd of 5,000 people and I give a seminar and I never even,
But how
I
about the
never
first
get
time?
butterflies. What do you mean? What first
How
time?
about the first time you did that?
I don't get butterflies.
No.
No. I'm weird like that. Like I could get on stage and perform and
I'm okay. I just need a little bit of, like, if I am confident on what I know, I have no problem giving, talking in front of other people.
yeah, I mean, if I'm not prepared, I'll definitely fumble. But I
I'm
don't
not
look out to
prepared,
the
then it
crowd
sucks.
and like go blank or anything. I just
So for me, when I'm at work, when we're in the meetings, I'm usually the one leading the meeting or answering the technical questions.
But no, I mean, I guess I get a tiny bit nervous, but like the only time I ever felt nervous that I can think of, like historically, is when I would go surfing. Right before I would go surfing, I would have to go to the bathroom. Like, this is so weird, but I would have to use the restroom every single time. Like, well, it wasn't pee, but
No, okay.
that's what I could sense is like what nervousness might look like.
Yeah.
Like that I had to use the restroom every time before I went out surfing. But like I never got nervous. But that was like my subconscious reaction.
Right.
Because then I would be like, I don't know, I guess I'm nervous. I don't know. Is that what nervous feels like? So that's probably one of my biggest problems, why I don't hesitate to talk when everybody else in the room. I'm the one person that talks in the room when everybody else is like thinking it, but nobody wants to verbalize it because they're all too afraid to do it. I'm the one who does it because I don't have any of that fear. I get in trouble sometimes.
So what are you expecting when I meet our dad? I mean, what are you hoping to see? What do you want to see? Yeah, but I mean, like what for you? What do you want to see? What is the thing that would make
I'm hoping that he is able to process the reality of you being real, right? And I think.
Do you think he hadn't done that yet?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he knows you're real on paper, but he doesn't know you really exist. Does that make sense? Like how he separated the two? Like he wants to just throw money at you, like he wants to throw money at me.
So what do you think how he thinks? Like when he looks at my life and how I turned out, what do you think he'll think?
I think he's gonna feel like a big poop head. But I think he's gonna be proud of you that in spite of him not providing any support whatsoever, you turned out amazing. But I don't think he has that pride factor because it's not really a pride factor in me either. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Like,
I always love this, like going into Cincinnati. But
yeah, downtown's pretty. Like when I went to graduate college, undergrad, I was like, okay, is he proud of me? Is he excited that I have a college degree? Like, I couldn't get a sense of it because he never had a college degree.
Do you ever feel like you had to prove yourself to him?
Oh, all the time, and it never worked. Like every time I tried, I never accomplished my end goal. I mean, I never was good enough for him to acknowledge me.
Here's the fact of the matter: you are way more awesome than I am.
Well, it's probably because. No, I'm not.
I'm a PhD in molecular biology.
It's because my parents have never said I'm enough.
Amazing. Right? I am so proud to say I have a sister like you. It is amazing.
But I think it's because my parents set me up for the fact that they were never satisfied with what I accomplished. So I always tried to do more and more and more. And I probably did it for my dad's sake and a lot of like if you go all psychology on me, but like I think I was always trying to get his attention, always trying to impress him, always trying to make him feel proud, but he's not capable of that. So it was this constant, like I've trained myself to overachieve because I'm always like reaching for something I can never accomplish. So like when I graduated college, what I was trying to say is that like I thought he'd be all proud of me. I thought he'd say something. I thought he'd give me a hug. I thought anything, right? Like none of that happened. But what he did do, he goes, "Where's your college ring?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You graduated college. You need a college ring." Like, because there was a process and I wasn't following that process. And I was like, well, I don't give a shit if I have a college ring or not. I mean, like, great, but like,
I never even had a high school.
What, am I going to wear it for like a year and then put it away? And he's like, no, you need a college ring. Where do we buy them? Take me to the bookstore right now. We're going to go buy you one right now. And he bought me the most expensive ring that was in like the selection. Okay. Because that was his way of showing that he was proud of me.
Yeah.
Because he just can't do it like the normal people would do it.
Yeah.
That makes any sense. And I understood that, I think at the time, and now looking back, I understand it more. But there was just always those moments where, like, I thought he'd be proud of me getting married. I thought he'd be proud of me having grandkids.
I'm here to say it. You are the better sibling.
No, I'm not. I'm not a better sibling.
You are way better.
I'm not. You went through so much shit, and you're an amazing person, and I feel so badly that I did.
I went through a lot of shit, but that doesn't make me a better person.
I am so sorry I didn't act sooner. I feel guilty, horribly guilty.
I went through a lot of shit, not because of you. I went through a lot of shit because, the whole Dr. Bird thing, right? That was an amazing time.
You didn't sign up for any of that.
Going through high school, looking for a prom date when all that was going through Oprah and all that, right?
And then at the end of the day, he's not even your dad. That's the crazy part.
And then I thought, well, I'm going to get enough money to go through school. I'll join the military.
Kentucky.
And I joined the military, and I get called up for the Gulf War. I can't get a break. But although, what I have to say is,
you did really well in the war. I mean, like, to be honest.
The Army gave me everything they said they would. And this is something I learned, if you put the effort into the Army, it'll give it back to you. And they gave me way more than I put in, and so I've got no complaints.
Right.
But I definitely got the adventure of my life.
I mean, of all of your life experiences, it was probably the best thing for you.
Yeah, I would agree.
Other than meeting your dad on Christmas Eve in 2021.
Yeah, it's
because your crazy
better late
sister,
than never, right?
Your crazy sister finally convinced your dad to fly here. Only because the cheapest flight was on Christmas Eve.
So I got to say, it's very exciting to be able to meet my dad, right? Because I've always told people that I've never met my dad. I don't know who he is or where he's been. Like, they would ask me before all of this.
Right.
They would just be
You
like,
have no adult memory of him.
I'd be like, I was adopted. I've never met my dad. I don't know what he's like or anything like that. So, anyways.
At the end of the day, as weird as he is, and as odd as he is, and the lack of emotions and ability to process things like normal people, he's actually a really good guy.
Yeah.
And he really is a good guy. And does he have his weak moments? And does he lose his temper? Does he like lose his cool and freak out about his glasses that he put down like 5 minutes ago, but he can't remember who laid them down?
Well, I do that too. So,
But, like,
so
everybody
that's the
does
thing.
shit
I'm
like
kind of
that.
worried about. Well, not worried. I'm kind of
You're gonna
interested.
start seeing
about-
yourself in him.
Right, exactly. That's the thing I'm interested in. Like, the weird things that flip me out, are those the same things, or, what's the things, how are we alike? What are the things that's,
I think you're gonna have
I
more
don't know.
similarities than you could even guess, but not necessarily bad similarities. Just
well, Don
nuances.
always said that our mannerisms,
your manner, the way you hold your hand, everything
yeah.
is just like Dad, like
Yeah.
just like him.
And I'm going to say this.
And you
on
guys
camera.
are gonna have those moments where
I
you
don't
feel
think
like
we
you're
look alike.
mirroring. Oh, you are.
Really? I don't think. Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. I see the picture. I'm like, kind of, maybe.
So I
Maybe
think
because I'm so fat.
at some point over the weekend, maybe not tonight, maybe not right away, but like you're gonna have one of those mirror effect moments where you feel like you're looking at your own self, like
Right.
because you're gonna see his hand movement and you're gonna want to do the same hand movement and just in reverse. Like it's gonna be like one of those weird.
Right. That's going to be weird.
But I'll warn you, like if he starts trying to talk to you about something, you can go with the flow. But at any point, you might have to excuse yourself out of the conversation because he doesn't know how to end conversations.
So here's something. When I talked with him, like we were doing an Elon Musk, we're actually talking about setting the accounts up for the kids
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. And I really didn't care about that. But
He was very upset that you didn't care about that. He told me.
well, I don't.
like,
I didn't mean to upset him.
Why won't he just do what I'm asking him to do? And I'm like, you don't understand what he really wants, Dad.
That's not what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
So.
But again, it's a process. He was like, why won't he just follow
Yeah.
the process?
Exactly. So
Like, because he has
the
bigger
thing
issues.
that was weird is he was talking and talking about different things and going on and on and on about stuff, and I didn't want to have it stop.
Right. Well, just
That's what scared me.
you might have to stop him now that you're going to have him in person because
I
everybody
liked hearing what he had to
everybody
say.
has to do
I
it.
wanted to talk with him.
He'll back my husband into a corner and make him talk about airplanes for 2 hours. And sometimes it's fun, and then he pushes it past the limit of fun. Sometimes he'll pick out somebody randomly in the crowd and they'll maybe start talking about cars, or I don't know what the topic is. And you have to like figure out a way to extricate yourself out of that conversation. And it's okay. He doesn't get insulted.
So what do you think? How does he feel about all this? How was he?
Because he's processing.
Is he excited about it?
He doesn't get excited.
Does he wish it never was dug up? He would rather have been dead.
He doesn't regret it. He's not mad at me.
Well,
He's not upset.
So, like, what was the process of him going from
I think he feels
let's
guilty.
bury it to let's
He
get it
said
together?
when I started to ask him about questions, he was talking about your mom in particular being crazy, and I need to stay away from
Well,
her.
she is
and
crazy,
she's
so
dangerous,
I get that.
and I need to stay away from her. Now I understand more why he was saying she was dangerous. Right? That there's more context to that now.
Yeah.
But he never once really acknowledged your existence in those initial conversations. And honestly, I haven't talked to him in detail since
So
I
how
got
did
him.
how did you even become aware of my existence?
I recall maybe around 10 years of age, I broke into their room, not broken, but I let myself into their bedroom.
Right.
Went through, he had like a stand-up boudoir or whatever you want to call it, armoire.
You're right.
And I went through it and I found a picture of a little boy with blue eyes who's about 5 or 6 years older than me. I vividly remember that from the picture. It had a date on the back. And I think it said Alexander. And I asked my mom, who is this? And my mom was like, that's your dad's son from his first marriage. But it's probably not even his son because she cheated on him.
Right. Oh, we
And
learned that, right?
Well, yeah. But that was like my initial context. And then
Right.
like for the next 16 years or 17 years, while I left at 17, I never went back home, right? So the next 17 years or 7 years or whatever, I would hear tidbits of conversations here and there that I wasn't supposed to be listening to. And then I confronted them maybe when I was like 16 or 15. And I was like, you need to go find my half brother. This is crazy. And then they told me that your mom was crazy. I need to stay away from her. She's married to a crazy person. They could come after us. Again, now it's in context.
Right.
And they just talked me away from it. And every time I even brought it up with my Aunt Kathy, or I don't think I ever brought it up with Tony, but I brought it up with Kathy, his sister, my aunt, and she said the same thing. Like, you don't want anything to do with her. She was a gold digger. She's not a good person. You don't know if he could be a bad person too. Or he might even be your brother anyway. Just leave it alone. Like, you don't want to do that. You're going to put yourself at risk. That's what they all told me over and over and over. And then, like, at 20s, I partied, and 30s, I actually wanted to find you, but I didn't feel financially stable enough to go after it.
Right.
Because I thought, well, if they do come after me, I don't have enough money to hire a lawyer.
I had no even idea that you even existed.
I know.
So.
But
if
your,
I'd known,
did your mom know I existed?
No. Oh, well,
I'm sure
I don't know.
she knew.
She may have, but she
maybe
never
it didn't even
conveyed
like
that
hit
to
her
me.
radar. Like, it
As
never.
far as I knew, Alex was killed in a motorcycle accident.
When did she tell you that
Maybe,
he died?
like, it wasn't even for sure. She was like, I think he was killed in a motorcycle accident or something like that. It was like really bizarre.
So you know my dad's been in a motorcycle accident more than once.
I have too. So
Yeah. Do you know also that he's got what's the gland? Like if it's imbalanced, you can be overweight or underweight.
Thyroid.
Thyroid. He's got a thyroid problem, so he had most of his thyroid removed, and he has to take thyroid medication every day.
That could be me too.
He thinks he got it from working at one of the like GM plants or something, that he got exposed to some kind of radiation or something. I think that's what he used to tell me, but.
Me, I think it's just because I live a very sedentary, programming type life, and I need to change my diet. I'm getting older. When I turned 40, I couldn't eat like I could before. So
I don't know if I get this from mom or dad, but I stop eating when I get stressed. So my stress levels have been pretty high this year, I'd have to say. So I've pretty much, I've stopped eating, but I've dramatically reduced my calorie intake because my stomach gets so tied up that the last thing I want is food.
Right.
And I get so strung out that, whereas if I get bored, I definitely gain weight.
Yeah.
And I was bored a lot in my teenage years, so I was definitely overweight as a teenager.
You know, the thing that's crazy with me is I think it'd be very easy for me to change my diet. I just need to do it. Because I love diet foods. Like, I love kale. I love cabbage. I love, and I just need to start buying those things and eating.
So one time I ate an entire can of sauerkraut by myself.
Sauerkraut.
It was so good, and then I shit for a week, and I will never do it again.
Really?
I broke
love
into the
sauerkraut so much, I
pantry,
make my
and
own
I ate the
sauerkraut.
whole can, and I told my mom, I'm so proud of myself that I ate the whole can, and she's like,
I actually ferment my own sauerkraut. I love it.
I used to ferment my own sauerkraut. I also ate a whole bottle of aspirin because it tastes like sauerkraut.
Preferences.
Did you hear that? I ate a whole bottle of aspirin as a kid because it tastes like sauerkraut. It tastes like that soury. I just loved it. And then my mom freaked out and made me drink a whole gallon of milk.
Yeah.
I didn't die. I'm
It can be
fine.
good for you.
I like that soury taste of aspirin. I still like the taste of aspirin. I like the taste of metal. Like I used to chew on keys. I know that's not very healthy.
Really? So you like the copper taste?
Yeah, that metallic-y.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. That's why I love Sour Patch Kids. I could eat them all day long.
I don't like that.
I can't believe we're at the airport at 10 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve.
There we go.
So it's like 10 o'clock, so I wish we would have left sooner because it's still going to take me time to park, walk my butt in there. I hope we don't miss them.
Don was just looking for her best interest.
I don't know what Don's motivation was, but it wasn't my motivation, that's for sure. I have my key thing somewhere in here. I'll find it once I get the light. Make sure I'm not speeding.
I am going to be a driving mess when I go home.
But you can spend the night in my house. You can spend 2 hours in my house.
I just need to keep
You do
get my
whatever you
headphones.
want, and if worst comes to worst, I was going to drive my parents to their hotel if they can't drive, but I'm pretty sure my mom. So I even drew them out a map. So the map has, like, they take 4 roads to get there. I wrote the name of the roads out. I printed the map. Like, I have their keys. I have the coffee filters they need to make coffee in the morning. I have it all. I was trying to be a good daughter tonight. My best.
You're an awesome daughter.
Dawn
And
is
a
not
good
a great.
sister.
I kind of yell
Great
at my mom.
sister.
So you're going to see that I have.
Yeah.
Wait till you watch how I have to manage my mom.
She yells every single time. It's really bad.
Not.
So it would be weird if I run up and hug your mom.
No, hug her. I hug her, but I yell at her as much as I hug her.
Yeah,
Because she
every time it's
she
yelling
won't
fest.
back off.
I don't know. I like your mom. Your mom is just so, like, she's been so great through this whole thing.
She has. She was only worried about it for
Like,
like
whenever there's a lull between Alex and I, she always comes in and
that was my whole life. She's always been the mediator.
Yeah.
Always the enabler and the mediator. However, your dad truly loves you. I don't know why he hasn't called you in 16 months. He truly loves you. I promise. Okay. I'll just take your word on it, Mom. That was
I'm
how
sure
I
he
lived
does.
my entire life. Okay, so
And then here is, so this is where I told you.
David carrying my purse. That was kind of funny too. I'm not. So with David, it's really interesting because he is a caretaker, right? And I'm always been the caretaker to some extent in my family, like taking care of matters so that everything's all sorted out. And he's definitely like that too. And I'm not used to having somebody want to take care of me. So he's like insisted on carrying my purse because I had the limp from having knee surgery. You can see my left leg gimp there. But it's just funny to watch David carrying my purse around.
That shows that he cares.
He deeply cares. Like, I mean, I think he probably deeply cares more than I care. Like, his capacity for caring is deep and strong and real.
Mhm.
And all those times that family members told me that he might be the Antichrist, that he might try to sue me, he might try to ruin my life, he just turned out to be the polar opposite of that. And maybe his mom is that polar opposite person, and I don't doubt that she is. He's not.
Something that
He was probably a mess, right? But I think I got that little bit of my dad in me. Like, I don't get nervous. I don't get overly worked up about major events. And what I tend to do when I get nervous, I start talking more. So I started chatting up the people that were sitting next to us, right? To kind of broaden the conversation.
I think we're a lot of
And I'm more worried about the punctuality. Like, where are they? It's already 10 minutes past when they should be getting off the plane. Like, is the plane canceled? You know, I'm more concerned about the logistics than I am about the emotional part.
He looks like he's trying to calm the situation.
He's trying to emotionally calm himself down. I'm more like stressed about the logistics. Like, I don't want to miss my parents because I could also see my parents being so stubborn. They walk right past us because they don't even look up. And that's what I was more concerned about, like somehow missing them. Let's see.
See, like you can tell by your posture.
He's trying to crack jokes. I'm stressed about the logistics. He's stressed about the emotional part of this. And he's cracking jokes. Because he's wondering what is Alex going to look like. Because he's only seen some older pictures of his dad, right? I don't even have recent pictures of my dad, right? Like, they've never FaceTimed. They've never video chatted, right? Like, I got them to text a couple times, so that was about it. And then, you know, honestly, I'm worried about my mom's bad breath. So my mom has really bad halitosis or whatever, like bad breath from the blood pressure pills that she takes for medication, and it's so bad sometimes you can smell it from like 8 feet away. And so I think I brought a package of mints with me because I was so worried that she's going to show up and we're all going to be like, what's that horrible smell? And it ends up being my mom. I absolutely include it because we know that that's part of the family story. We harass her about it all the time, or I do. We're always like, Mom, take the mints. Take them. Do you have mints on you, Mom? Okay, I brought some for you.
I stand for that the same way.
I've been playing it pretty sober. I don't need a wasted. Then I get myself in trouble.
Really see you wasted.
No, probably because when you're over, I'm like heavily measured.
Really, you're trying to keep it under control.
Yeah.
Make sure things don't get out of hand.
Well, because I just feel like I need to be responsible, or I don't know. And then lately, I've really gotten that trash lately because my stomach won't let me. I've seen you a little bit tipsy before.
Where?
Don's a terrible influence. He gets every guy around him
Well,
drunk.
where was I? Where was I?
I don't remember. It was one other time she came over, and I was like, "Great, Don's got him drunk." But that's what he does. This looks like a Vegas crowd. No, you're not bad, but I'm saying Don does it to everybody. Everybody that like hangs out with him too much ends up getting too drunk. Because he'll be like, "Here you go, here's some more crazy."
Don's fun. He's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy when he's in a fun mood. He's not a fun guy when he's not in a fun mood.
I didn't say that.
Oh, fists through walls.
Really?
Oh, he just broke the cabinet door in the kitchen yesterday.
And smashed the broom
What
in half.
happened?
And splashed all over the floor, all over everybody's. He's
Right
screaming-
before-
screaming obscenities at me.
Right before a
Because I asked
party.
him nicely to leave the house by 5:30 so her 14 girlfriends could come over because I can't manage him and the boys plus the girls. And he didn't like the idea of me kicking him out of the house. So he said, "Oh, there he is! Hey, Grandma!"
That's not which one.
Oh, here he is! Hey, Grandma!
That's not which one. Are you?
Go now! Go!
Oh, there he is.
See?
And my mom, looking bedraggled, but whatever. She forced him to fly on Allegiant Airlines, which he was not happy about. And we talked about it afterwards because she got a really cheap flight. So then David's reluctant to go around the corner. He wants to just like stand there. He's kind of become frozen a little bit because he doesn't know what to do. My dad doesn't know what to do. It's the weirdest thing trying to get two people who don't know what to do to act natural, right? And so even my hugs with my own father are awkward. I was just thinking, how awkward is it going to be for David to hug my dad when even my hugs are like weird and unnatural. And my dad immediately focuses on Allie and her videotaping. And they're just standing there. We're like, do something. This isn't, you haven't seen your son in the, no, it was 49 years or something like that. Not 41, 49 years you haven't seen your son. And you're standing there like, I'm going to start complaining about the weather. We're like, what is going on? And then he's walking away. We're like, oh. And my mom's being super nice, but that was beyond awkward. I'm happy to see my parents. He's super happy to see his dad. But I shouldn't have expected anything better from Alex. He's just not capable of it, right? And it's not because he chooses to be a jerk. I really think he's just not capable of it, like an average human being would be. So that was good. I mean, that was as good as it's gonna get.
Pulled it off.
Yeah.
It did exactly what you wanted to do on Christmas Eve. Not many people could do that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I bribed my daughter to videotape it. Told my mom ahead of time, like, you know, David's not only looking to meet his dad, but he's looking to meet you as his stepmom too. So this is like a multifaceted meet and greet, right? Like this is beyond just like the two of them. There's a lot of other players here. So my dad at least acknowledged that all of us meeting was my doing. That was what somewhat gratifying in this experience. But like this weird like standing on opposite sides of the room and then like him going, okay, let's go to the car. Okay. And we're like, and then poor David, he doesn't know what to do because here I am dragging my dad's suitcase or my mom's suitcase. And my mom, bless her heart, goes over to David, hooks arms with him, and work, as she always has been, the glue that kind of keeps the whole family network together in some respects. Like, you know, I would constantly be like, Dad doesn't love me, he doesn't talk to me, he doesn't care about me, and she would constantly reaffirm how much he did care for me, how much he thinks about me, thinks, he's proud of me, and there's my mom doing it for David, right? Like hooking arms with him, because my dad then gravitates to me as we're walking to the car. I'm like, you're not here to see me. You're here to see your son. Why the heck aren't you walking with your son? Right? But I was like, all right, this is what my dad chooses to do. This is what I'll do. And I think it's, again, maybe his comfort level, like where he felt he fit in, because he doesn't know what that dynamic yet. Because I still think he's thinking of his ex-wife when he's looking at David, because he said to him, David looks a lot like Joni, right? And so he might still have a lot of unworked out anxiety or fear or apprehension in regards to her that he was sort of conveying onto poor David.
Yeah.
So I vividly remember this car ride back from the airport Christmas Eve with David, my dad, my mom, my daughter, filming everybody in the car and getting the camera all set up. And we get into our assigned seats that we have discussed prior to getting to the airport, so that everybody knows where their spot is and like where my mom's gonna sit and everything else based on leg room and other expectations. And we get in the car, we get out of the parking lot, and I'm thinking, how are we going to get this conversation going? Because this is awkward, painfully awkward, and David is like deer in headlights, has no idea how to interact or what to do, and he just doesn't want to make my dad upset, but doesn't want to disappoint him and all the rest. And somehow we start talking, and my dad starts going off on this tangent about something, and I don't remember exactly what it was. Probably something Elon Musk or something that he obsesses about. And literally in unison, myself, my mom, and my daughter, who all know my dad very well, and we all call him different names. So Alex, Dad, and Papa. Literally the three of us in unison are like, Papa, Alex, Dad, stop. Just stop. You're ranting and raving. You're going off on a tangent. Nobody wants to talk about, maybe he was talking about airplanes or something. And we were all like, just time out. Stop. And David just sitting there is this normal? Is this how they normally interact with him? Because obviously they know this behavior. I don't know this behavior. They're all reacting in unison to his behavior. And then David, in the sweetest way possible, tries to redirect the conversation by asking our dad, so what's your favorite food, right? Because David and I found out over time that we have a lot of food preferences that are the same. We both love bourbon. We both love medium rare steaks. We were kind of going through this whole, and it was a way for us to bond. And so he's trying to use that same method to bond with our dad. And my dad's response, or our dad's response, he pauses for a few seconds. We're all like, oh, maybe we're going to learn something new about Alex, because we don't know what his favorite food is, right? And he literally tells us, I don't have one. I don't have a favorite food. And we're like, who the heck doesn't have a favorite food? What kind of weirdo are you? He's like, well, I like the process of cooking, but I really don't have a favorite food. And we're all like, okay, we shouldn't have expected anything better. But poor David, trying to be the nice guy. Then I think he asked him something like, what's your favorite color, Alex? And again, my dad's like, I don't really have one. And we're all like, okay, let's figure out a way to redirect this conversation, because normal conversations don't work with this guy. And poor David doesn't know any better at that point. And I hate for him to give up on the conversation, but yeah, it kind of ended there at that point.
Oh, congratulations, Mom.
My son Josh is more in for adventure. So
Josh is what?
my oldest son is more of an adventurous man. He's
a risk.
He's got a lot of hair. That's all I.
16.
He's got a lot of hair.
I don't know. He's
Not sure exactly what's going on.
he's just
How's he doing in school?
he does average.
Okay, fine. Is he in sports or anything?
Yes, he's in. He does lacrosse. But
You do too, don't you? Wow.
Wow.
and then my youngest son is another brain box. He's super,
Sounds like
Programming.
Okay. Software, computers, that sort of thing.
So they're all different. That's the thing that I think the thing shocking me about having kids is how different They all are.
Yes.
Personalities were different. Their ambitions were different. Everything was different.
Amazing.
Same with Alicia's three kids.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy, Allie, and Jimmy, and Jack are all.
Crazy different. Yeah. So you heard too that you're gonna get to see Ricky or Rick, your
Yeah, you told me about
David's
that.
half brother that used to be your stepson for a while.
I'm vaguely, because he was like 2 or 3 years old. He's how many years older than you? 3, maybe?
So he was 4 years older than me, like 3.5.
3.5 years. That's what I was discussing that with Andrea on the flight over, and she said, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
So we're gonna have dinner
So-
with him Monday night. He's coming down from
Well,
Michigan.
The true confession is we were afraid to look for you. At least I was initially, because of the way that Joni was acting. She was acting really bizarre.
Yeah.
Really
She's
bizarre.
your name and everything. We didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was shocked to find out my original name was Alex.
Yes.
Yes.
Alex Gardner.
Yep.
You play
Yes.
Alex D.
Alexander.
Really?
You play Alex D.
Alexander, and I think she used her brother's name as your middle name.
David?
No, Richard.
No, his middle name was David. I looked at the records.
Okay.
When he was
Okay,
born,
wasn't
it was
David, okay.
Alexander David Gardner. Yeah.
Okay.
So then he just took his middle name and made it his first name.
I see.
And got rid of Alex.
I see.
You know, why did she change my name and not Reggie's?
She was hiding you. That's why.
But why was she hiding from you?
I don't know. She was just.
You know that she told people that you beat her, right? And we all know you, and we know you couldn't hurt a fly. But like, why
No.
would she make up a story like that?
Because she's using it to be defensive. That's all.
But she didn't say that about her first ex-husband. Why did she say that about you?
I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. You know how much a wife beater I am.
I know you're completely incapable of it. But that's what scared David from finding you.
Well, I mean, if you were a wife beater, you wouldn't just stop. There would be some evidence of it.
Well,
Ask my mom.
Let me give you my,
Like, for instance, you would know of it. Alicia would know of it.
my 2-bit lecture about personality types. There's actually 4 major personality types. There's,
Please don't preach at us.
all right, I won't do it. I won't do it.
You
But
can talk about individual people, but let's not talk theory tonight.
okay. But I'm an analytic, and analytics don't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you are very analytical, Dad. Yes, that is correct. You are extremely painfully analytical.
Painfully, yes. Painfully, yes. But it served me well. Well,
But I'm still trying to figure out why Joni would have made up that crazy lie and why she was trying to hide David from you so adamantly. Like, did you threaten her? Did you say you were going to try to find him one day? Like, why would she because she didn't do it with Rick.
No.
She didn't do any of that with Rick.
I don't know. I don't know why
I
she
actually
did.
have a lighter question.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Probably better.
What are your favorite foods? What kind of things do you enjoy? What do you like? I'm curious.
Okay.
What's the similarities between you and I?
What
do we like the same things?
I'm a pilot. Okay, number 1. I still can fly on a second-class
He
medical.
asked you what you like to eat.
Okay, next comes food, activity. That's activities.
He likes sweets.
I like mechanical things. I am getting to the food. Just wait. Food. You know, I am not terribly picky about food.
That's true.
After living with Andrea,
Are you going to say it another time, Mom? Say it again, Mom. Say it again.
Well, how about you're going into mechanical things? My mom said that you worked at NCR.
no, never.
You've never worked at NCR.
Never worked for NCR.
She worked at NCR.
I worked for a cross company, and they were contracted to General Motors, and they were contracted to Oak Ridge National Laboratories.
You told me that his mother worked for NCR. Right now it's...
I never worked for NCR.
No, she did. Joni did. Yeah.
Joni did.
Yes.
You know what's funny? I worked for NCR.
Oh my
I
God.
contracted with them,
Oh,
doing software.
yeah.
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 And
But Alex likes to bake and likes to cook. He does cook.
I cook, but it's more out of desperation.
He can make really good bread from scratch. He can make really good biscuits from scratch. He likes making good food from scratch.
I am a.
He's not a mix user. Like, he doesn't use mixes. He makes stuff from scratch.
I'm an accomplished cook, but it's only because I know what the proportions of things.
The process is.
And the process.
Do you bake or cook or anything?
I can make something without.
I like to grill, and I've gotten into all different kinds of. Like, I get into weird stuff. I get into these hobbies, and I don't know. Like, for instance, I started with fermenting, so I make sauerkraut.
Oh, okay.
And then I started getting into just this year getting into charcuterie, like doing hanging meats and stuff. I get into weird stuff. Like I flew RC planes for a while.
Oh, okay. You like airplanes? That's good.
I have motorcycles.
Alex said that one love is airplanes. Like, he loves that more than anything else.
What's that?
Awesome.
Airplanes.
Yeah.
So you used to know my uncle, right? Uncle Richard.
Richard, yes, I knew Richard quite well, and his motorcycles and his Camaros and everything else that he had. In fact,
he passed away in 2017.
I was close, and I really regret that I didn't get to.
He had Alzheimer's really bad his last 10 years of life, and he didn't know who he was.
Okay, that's
unfortunate. What? I didn't hear that.
I regret that I didn't have some good time with Richard before he passed away.
Was he a good guy, or did you like him? Or?
He was a pretty cool guy.
Being cool and being good are two different things.
Well, he wasn't a wife beater or anything like that. No, but he liked his toys. He liked his motorcycles and he liked his cars.
He had a twin-engine Beechcraft.
He did.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
Oh yeah.
Well, I had a single-engine Beechcraft that I just sold.
That we don't want. We're in the process of selling.
And what he did is he put the brakes on, cranked both those engines up, and then slingshot us off South Bass Island.
Oh my goodness.
Little short runways.
I know exactly where that's at. I've flown into it. Yeah, and I've flown all kinds of airplanes.
That's
all kinds. So,
okay, your favorite foods. You don't have one?
I don't really have a favorite food. You know,
So
I like breads and pastas.
You like steaks?
Yeah,
You like
steaks.
bourbon?
Yeah.
You like bourbons?
He only drinks bourbon because I drink bourbon.
I'll drink some bourbon once in a while. I'll drink.
You like your martinis, though, don't you?
I like my martinis. Yes.
Cigars?
Yes.
I smoke cigars. I've got.
No, he still smokes, Mom. You don't know that?
Yeah.
I know that. I know he smokes cigars.
So I like cigars.
I like burning up $25 and $50 cigars.
I like scotches, yeah.
And if you take a nice cigar, cut the end off, handle cigar that is, and then dip it in some very good bourbon, it smokes much better.
They steak and your breast sticks when you're done.
So do you do more of a cat's eye or a flat cut on the back?
Flat cut.
Yeah.
I've got 2 or 3 different kinds of cutters.
Oh, he's a big ham radio guy. Dad loves his ham radio.
Okay, so I just got into the ham radio thing.
Oh my
And I was going
goodness.
to take the license, and interestingly enough, is you can actually pass on the radio ID, your call sign.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of
Well, I was K8NLB originally in Michigan, which is 8 area, and then W6NLB because I could get it as a W call, and I still have the W6NLB.
He would talk to people in the Soviet Union when I was a kid. I remember him doing that. It's just kind of weird.
So mine is really small. All I have is, like, I just recently got into looking at it, and I have like a small Bofang, cheap Chinese kind of thing.
Oh, I know what it is.
But I just wanted to learn how to do it.
Do you know what Collins radio is?
Nope.
You don't know what Collins radio
They
is?
never drives out. You can give it your stuff.
Okay, I've got.
You can get it all out of your house because you don't even use it anymore. It's just sitting there collecting dust.
Well, it has been for the last 2 years since I haven't used it. So, a couple of years.
Well,
I just get onto something came up
Welcome to Ohio.
A ton of different
So the real problem with ham radio in an urban area is that nobody wants to see an antenna. They get all excited. But, the ones that really work good are really ugly.
But now they have the digital, right? So it's like they have these, what do you call it, the little outposts that go through the internet and then pop up.
Oh yeah, you can do that, but that's not real ham radio.
It's fake.
That's sort of internet stuff. Yeah, packet
not
radio,
analog.
packet radio, but that's
But that's where you can take a Bofang and talk to somebody in China.
You can do that on the internet too.
Yeah.
Much easier. But if you really want to be able to directly communicate, you need something like a Collins 75S1 and a Collins 32S1 and a Collins.
Okay, we don't really care, Dad. You're going down a road we don't care about.
And it puts out 1,000 watts of
so
power.
Can we talk about David? Do you have another question? Let's change the topic.
Too much detail on things.
Well, just skipping around doesn't really mean much.
It's enough.
All right. So, how was your flight?
Okay.
How was your flight?
What are some questions you have of me?
Yeah.
Like anything, like what I've done with my life, or?
Yeah. You can tell me a little bit about your. I'm not that curious about your work history. I know you've done well for yourself.
Yeah.
You have a reasonable level of wealth, and you have a nice family, and I don't think you're in debt. I hope you're not. If you are, I'll help you get out of debt. Not by giving you money, but teaching you how to do it.
Oh my God. Such a weird conversation. I know.
Yeah.
How about you ask him like what he does for a living?
I know what he does for a living.
What does he do for a
He's
living?
an accountant.
No, he's not an accountant.
Well, he's a consultant accountant.
He's not an accountant at all.
Oh,
He writes computer. He's a software developer.
Software developer. Okay, software developer. For what kind of software? It makes a difference,
All different kinds. So,
internet software.
So I've worked everywhere from military defense contractors like Raytheon,
Okay.
all the way to insurance companies like Ohio National, to the current company I'm working for, which is a mortgage company doing AWS cloud type software.
What do you do? Database? Do you write C++? What do you do?
I probably consider myself more of a full stack. So I do everything from doing database to front end. Right?
Okay. Do you do Windows and graphic programming?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of different things, right? So I've done a lot of, I started out doing Unix type stuff. Actually, I started out as a Unix administrator.
Which flavor?
Many. So I've done Silicon Graphics, IBM, Hupix, the HP.
See, I don't know anything about software, but that's all right.
Oh, yeah. And, yeah, so I've done a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's interesting.
So most of the stuff I do is like Java and,
okay.
and AWS.
So you're writing
type programming and JavaScript. That's cross-platform, so it doesn't.
Okay. Python.
But didn't you write software as when you were like part of your career, Dad? You would write doctor's office software.
I did. I did doctor's office software.
What'd you write it in? What language?
It was written in a database called DataFlex that ran on DEC computers, and it ran on PCs, but not very well. And it ran. Pardon?
DECnet?
No. On the original DEC machines. That's a long time ago. And it was the character based, all character based.
Right.
So no graphics. But it worked. I wrote a complete system for an airline.
Yeah.
It was instrumental.
Great
I had
company.
other people working for me, but we wrote a complete system for an airline to manage their maintenance and
scheduling.
Yeah. So this is not really database software, but it's close to it. inventory control software. Think of it that way. Because airlines deal with a lot of expensive parts for their airplanes, and they need to move them around, and know where they're at, and know how to get them, et cetera, et cetera.
So, where'd you go to school?
But yeah, I don't really enjoy doing that.
Okay, we're gonna change the topic now, Dad.
Okay.
Okay.
Topic changed.
So, where'd you go to school? Right state.
Right state.
So my degree is actually in economics,
Okay.
but
That's maybe where you got the
paid for
accounting
my
from.
degree,
Oh, maybe that's where I got that. Okay.
through military benefits and working for the university program.
Good.
And when I went to go find a job, I found that I could get a higher paying job programming than I could working for a bank.
Right. I would agree.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And it
Almost
worked out well.
anytime you can make more money than working for a bank.
Right. Yeah, doing economic analysis at a junior level for a bank doesn't pay well.
No. But you might have been a vice president.
Yeah, I mean, maybe by now.
Yeah, maybe.
No, by then. They make everybody vice presidents.
It means nothing then. So you were in the military, Army, Navy?
I was in the Army. I was military police.
Oh, my
thanks for
goodness.
there.
And our job was
Where were you
EPW
stationed?
escort, which is enemy prisoner of war escort.
Oh.
And typically that job, you really wouldn't do anything. Then the Gulf War broke out.
You escorted prisoners?
Yeah. So I would take prisoners from the front lines from the Marines and take them back to the EPW camps.
Wow.
It was actually, when you're 18, it's an adventure.
Oh yeah.
I look at some of the guys I was with that had kids and family, and they were like 26, 27, 28. Yeah, and they're doing the same thing, and it's like that wouldn't be as much of an adventure, right?
You don't want to do that
you
for
don't
too
have
long.
a family or a wife or kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great, but when you have a wife and kids back, it's great.
How many years did you have to serve?
So, I signed up for the reserves so I could help pay for college. But then because of the Gulf War, I got activated for almost 2 weeks. So I was active duty for 2, and then finished out 4 years reserve, and then 2 years IR.
So when you stationed here or there?
Actually, it was Zanesville, Ohio.
So you didn't really run in the Gulf War, so to speak.
Oh, no, I was in Saudi.
Yeah, you were in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I was in Saudi Arabia. My unit was stationed out of Zanesville, and we got shipped to Saudi Arabia.
For how long? A year and a half?
7 months.
7 months, short time.
And someday we have time to tell you about Saudi Arabia.
All right. I have pictures and stuff. I'll show you.
I love to travel. This guy never traveled until he married me, and then
Saudi Arabia really wasn't my favorite. It was kind of like when you flew in there, it was like you were flying into a place that was under construction. There were no green.
My heart,
No.
like I said, my hard and fast rule of Andrea is no third world countries, period.
I spent 4 years. I went to India, I've been all over the place. Unless you and I went to Egypt, and then she and I went to Pichu.
Peru.
You guys have done a lot of neat traveling.
Oh, then now it's
Yeah,
like,
Mom's
I
adventuresome.
got to places. We went to Russia and to Europe several times.
Africa, you guys went to Kenya?
Kenya, the photographer for some
Kenya, we went to, well, when I was working down in Brazil, Andrea came down once or twice.
I had 1 whole week in Brazil. He was working in Thailand. I know he's from Brazil. I'll take you to Thailand. I'll take you to whenever.
Yeah,
I probably never will either. But
What is holding you back from traveling now? Excuses. That's what's holding you back.
nah,
whatever.
I'm not adventurous
No,
anymore.
your dad is not adventurous.
My adventurous self just
He's staying home and works on his own car that he has.
What kind of old car?
It's a Studebaker Avante. You've probably never seen one. They only made about 6,000 of them in 1963 and 1964. And it's an all fiberglass body with a big V8 engine and a styling that was done by Who's the guy that did the styling? I can't recall his name right offhand.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You got
But
an
in
old
case-
Studebaker. Last year they made cars. You
Yeah,
got
it's-
it. And it's in your garage.
The if you looked at it, you would not think it's a 1963 vehicle. Raymond Loewy.
You have a picture on your phone. You can show them.
Oh, sure.
Hey, my neighbor just bought a vet.
Your
A
neighbor,
white. It's one of the cops in Madeira.
Did he actually take delivery of it?
Yeah, because he's got his tags on it, like his new car tags on it. But it's not the convertible, but it's the white one.
You literally told me it was a convertible.
It's not the convertible because I looked at it. It's got the full windshield on the back.
What kind of car?
Same thing. That's Corvette, but it's not the convertible. It's the white one too.
Well,
Yeah, I'll be darned.
those
I-
things were extremely
What's his last
hard to
name,
get.
Allie? Because he's got a kid in 8th grade. I'll go figure it out, and I can go stop at the police station and BS with him about the car.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Alicia told you that Alicia and I did the Ron Fellows race course driving school.
Yeah, so with us, was that fun?
Oh, absolutely. It was
Amazing.
very amazing, yes.
I'm like, I can't get it out of my head.
You have no idea what the track drivers do. It's not just driving around a course.
Much deeper appreciation after having gone through that course.
Much deeper appreciation. Nothing like going 115 miles an hour on a short course, like from less than here to that yellow flashing light. Then hard braking.
Hard brake.
Hard
Like
as you
you think
can.
you've anti-lock braked it, but you're like locked it up, but you haven't because the car is designed to handle it. And then doing a corner at 70 miles per hour,
Yes.
like a 90-degree turn at 70 miles an
and
hour,
then going again through a chicane, and then going again through some more.
up to 95 on another short, long, like straightaway.
Yeah.
Slamming the brakes on again and doing a sharper than 90-degree turn.
Actually, what you do is you slam the brakes on to slow down to maybe about 60 or 70 miles an hour, and then you kind of modulate the brakes. You'd never let them off of them until you get to the apex
Use
of
a
the
brake
corner.
to turn the car. Actually,
If you turn the car with the brakes, if you let off the brakes, you can kiss your butt goodbye.
okay, so that house right there is where he's got the vet.
Here?
You'll see as you
Here?
no, the blue one on the left.
Oh,
You'll see it's parked. I don't think it's in his garage.
well, I
he
think
had it
I
out
see
on the
it out
street.
on the side there.
Yeah, he's got the brand new like paper tags.
Why
for the
would he
plates.
not put it in the garage and put an old car out?
He wants his neighbors to see it.
Well, I mean,
He's one of the 3 cops that lives in Madeira of the 13 cops in Madeira.
you got 13 cops up in there.
Yeah, they're actually adding
There it is.
15. Yep, there it is. See, it's not the
Oh yeah.
convertible. It's got the full.
I almost bought a
Windshield.
Z06.
Not the C8 version, the latest version. No, yes, maybe. The latest version is a mid-engine. It's the first mid-engine Corvette that you have ever built, and they are tough as nails. I mean, they literally drive them to the level of abuse at that driving school. I never thought you could.
And then
make
they
a car.
sell them afterwards.
And then they sell them. And funny thing is, they're not constantly repairing them. They hang together. I don't know how they do it.
Okay, Mom, you can change your topic.
What's your favorite foods, David?
I don't know. So I definitely like steaks and beef and stuff like that. Never really
Thought about it.
He says he doesn't like sweets, so that's one thing
No,
you differ on.
I don't like sweets. I'm not into chocolate either, which is kind of
Different.
yeah, exactly.
These funny state law crosswalk signs.
Oh yeah, it's because there's a nursing home and they cross the street to go to that Madeira Mart. Like somebody got hit not too long
The
ago.
house all lit up, bush.
Oh,
Wait a minute, here, hold on.
it's you might need
Stand by.
sunglasses.
Uh-oh.
I have a picture.
Oh,
We're going to be pulling up to it, but I just want to show you this before.
a couple more blocks.
I mean, you
Prepare
should
yourself.
know, Mom. Come on, you know I'm Christmas
Okay.
crazy.
That looks pretty conservative.
You can't hear the music, though.
No, music.
There's music.
Why hasn't Allie said anything all the
She and I are
time?
talking slick.
Because she's kind of petrified of the whole
No,
experience.
she's sitting
No,
laughing.
I'm actually not petrified.
No, she's having a good time.
She's listening to all this.
She and I are giggling. It's
Okay.
All right,
I
so
really don't have a favorite food. I think I like the process of cooking more than I like
So
eating
what do you
the
like to
food.
cook?
Well, I can
Seafood?
Anything really.
Yeah,
I can do just about anything. I can cook beef or fish, or I can do grits
The chicken tikka
or chicken.
Indian stuff.
Really, tikka masala?
Yeah, it's a bread.
And
I cooked that just,
my last
last
attempt
Oh, good.
that turned out actually pretty good was the Indian.
Yeah, I even made little
Oh, I see it
chapatis and
down
all.
the street. Oh, yeah. What are your neighbors?
I love it.
Oh, the cars are blocking it. You can't see quite the full effect.
Oh my goodness! All the inflated toys and what the Santa Claus.
Oh, my camper is flipping over.
And the tree.
Oh yeah, we gotta go fix it.
Looks like you've got new things. But I see
Yes, I have the nativity scene and I have Santa on his sleigh. Those are new.
And the tree.
And the tree
And the
that
tree.
fell over.
And we're going to the cement house,
What?
made from cement, top to
It's
bottom.
not made from cement. Oh, it kind of is. Okay, never mind. Yeah.
It kind
The
of
whole first
is.
floor is poured concrete. Yeah.
All right.
I have to. All right, I'm sorry.
So you're the sister.
Nice to meet you. And I'm videotaping some of this. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna put together a little fun movie at the end. It's nice to meet you. Can I have a hug?
Sure. Oh,
Nice to
so
meet
Todd
you.
told me a lot of stories. Hey, I'm Steve. And I'm Dan.
This is Alex.
Wow. Hey. You know what I was telling Dave? I saw a picture of you two, and I was like, because I think I was like 3, and because you were small. And Dave would always say, he's like, well, what do you remember about you know, my dad? I just remember he was really tall.
Kind of a tall, geeky guy. He was lanky and tall. Like
This is the Miata builder here. So he is bigger than Miatas.
Oh.
That's racing.
Well, I got an MR2.
Oh, MR2, okay.
So we're doing SCCA, like autocross racing. And then, hi.
this is my mom, Andrea Gardner.
Hi.
I thought about you, but I didn't know I would.
Yeah.
What's the
Well,
I heard you worked for Ford. I just, that's bad.
well, to be honest, so like to be like I got out of school, I wanted to work for a car company, and I was like, I really want to work for GM or I want to work for whatever, and then they had an interview with Ford, and I said, "Here's an interview with Ford. What the heck?"
So you know his brother, Tony, was a VP at GM.
He was CEO. At GM, and he was CEO at Hughes out in California. When GM bought Hughes.
I just think it's weird how we have all these similarities.
So, you know, I had to go get cups of coffee and all that sort of thing. He didn't know how to do it for himself.
Oh yeah.
He had to eat in his special dining room.
Well, this is like kids.
These are. Okay. So what do you think of this weekend so far, Dad? I'm doing a post meetup interview.
Post meetup interview.
Yes.
It's been interesting.
Thanks, Dawn, for the comments from the peanut gallery. Because just mind your own business. So, what do you think? You got 4 amazing grandkids, all quite impressive. No?
I'm impressed with the kids.
And David, in spite of all the crap he went through as a child, or didn't go through as a child?
Absolutely. I'm not surprised.
Any feedback you want to give us? You're grateful, you're not grateful, you regret it, you don't regret it, you don't care, you care?
I don't like traveling, but it was worth it.
Well, that's good to know. We were worth your time and effort.
Yes, you were, interviewer.
Okay, what was the most surprising thing?
The most surprising thing.
How annoying I was? Because that shouldn't be surprising.
The most surprising thing that I've thought about already a couple of times is Alexa.
Alexis, really?
Yes, really. She's brilliant.
She's crazy smart.
She's crazy smart. I really.
Well, what's funny is she's getting X chromosomes, right? Not Y chromosomes. This is all in the X chromosome. So this means Tilly is the one we're getting that intelligence from. Right? Because she's not a boy. She didn't inherit your Y chromosome. She inherited your X chromosome. Your X chromosome came from Tilly.
Thank you, microbiologist.
So Tilly was a brilliant person.
You get this stuff from mom. Actually, the intelligence.
Meredith is smart, but Meredith's not that crazy smart. I mean, like, no offense to Meredith. I love Meredith, but she's like freaky smart.
Meredith is pretty smart. I had an in-depth conversation with her, and I was impressed with her too.
Yes. Yes. She's a psychologist.
She is probably. Yeah. We were talking about autism.
Yeah, that's what she does.
She knows a lot about it.
That's what she does for her whole life. She takes care of kids that are on the spectrum in various levels.
She was talking about Elon Musk's conversational patterns, saying that he is autistic.
Oh, he is. You didn't know that? He's got Asperger's. He's self-proclaimed.
Asperger's is autism.
Is a form of autism, yeah.
I know that. But we had an in-depth conversation about it. She was really smart.
Well, it's crazy that we're all like super science geeky people too.
Yeah.
Naturally, without like anybody encouraging us.
And we were talking about AI and Boston Dynamics. You know who Boston Dynamics is?
I've heard it before, but I don't know the details.
Oh, go on the internet, take a look.
Good or bad?
Absolutely scared out of your mind.
Oh, the AI stuff that they're developing. Alexis was touching on some of that when we were talking the other day, and she was like, "It's kind of scary."
You will be absolutely shocked. You have no idea. You have no idea. She was telling us how they had set up 2 AI computers, and they were talking to each other, and they couldn't tell what they were talking about.
It's just a language.
So they shut them both down. Yeah. Let me think about that for 2 seconds.
So they developed a unique language that only they understood?
Yes.
Holy crap.
The computer language they understood.
WTF.
What if you can't control when they shut off, though? What if they develop like a backup that doesn't allow you to shut them off?
Shut them down.
Isn't that movie 2010 or whatever? Whatever it's called, Space Odyssey?
Okay, but in any case, we're entering a kind of uncharted territory right now. You better stay with it and find out what's going on as it happens.
What, you're trying to tell me I need to be like, it's conspiracy theory?
Yes. Geek up.
I'm geeked up. Oh, it's already creepy what we already do in this industry.
I know. In your biological stuff, you're doing creepy stuff too. You've actually created little life forms that aren't life forms.
Well, they are because they're alive and they're independently alive, and that makes.
Are they alive?
That makes if they're independent, they are. They don't need any support. Like, I mean, at least AI needs power, right?
Yes.
But you can make a clone of somebody
and all this CRISPR stuff is scary too, because they can make any kind of COVID or any kind of other bullshit virus that they want.
CRISPR is not that scary. I mean, you have to understand what you're changing. I mean, you can cause bad mutations too with CRISPR, not just good stuff. But you can do things like change somebody's eye color.
Mom, where's the instructions for the car again for Christmas?
I don't know. There's all kinds of instructions.
You put it in the bag.
Which car?
There's
several sets of instructions over there.
They are doing gene modification where people that were blind and not producing a certain enzyme are now producing the enzyme and they can see.
Wait. Okay, so back to the topic. Let's stay on topic. We got like 1 more minute here.
Okay.
What do you think of David, his family, his experiences, your conversations? Like, okay, so we said, what was the most surprising? You said Alexis. What was exactly the way you thought it would be?
What is exactly? I had no idea what to expect. Had no idea what to expect. I like the kids. The kids are great. David's quiet. His wife is really intelligent.
Yeah.
And David is kind of intelligent, but he's amiable.
Okay, 1 second, Jack.
Analytic. He's analytic because he's a computer programmer.
But he's also amiable? It's weird. Like, I mean, even Meredith says sometimes...
He's verging on amiable because he's afraid to talk and wants to be nice. Skip the be nice part.
But you know that James Burt was abusive to him, right?
I know. He wasn't good.
I mean, verbally and...
When I talk to Ricky, I'll know more.
Verbally, but also he said that David got singled out for beatings that Rick never got. That were unjustified.
Well, I got beatings too when I was a kid that I didn't deserve.
Apparently, I don't know, it's because he looked more like somebody, I don't know the whole situation, but...
Don, what's going on? What's this?
I don't know. This is freaking weird recording. I would
Well, that's your choice. That's fine. Hold on, Jack. 1 second, okay? You can, if it's for me, I'll open it later, okay?
I think the biggest struggle the kids have is that they're intelligent. You go to a public school, you go to a general public school, and they're going to ridicule him, make fun of him, and harass them because they're not normal.
Yeah, but Elizabeth is do you know Elizabeth is the most popular girl in her class?
Well, she's
intelligent and she's very social too.
She's smart and manipulative. I wasn't that smart. They picked on me a lot because I knew more than they did.
But I don't think they have any like socialization issues that I'm aware of in their school. I mean, of course they probably do.
They didn't pick on me at Cass Tech, okay? They did not pick on me. But in grade school, I was constant.
Because your social skills are... It's not that you don't try that, it's just you don't really have like this natural ability to socialize. Kind of how I see Alexis sometimes. Like Alexis and I have really warmed up to each other, but at first, like the first time I met her, she wouldn't make eye contact with me for over an hour.
She is all right. Don't.
No, she was amazing last night. Like I got to really hang out with her more and become a little bit more personable with her. It was great.
And the two boys are...
They're just boys, yeah. I mean, what? Michael just eats a ton. He was first in line to eat at Betsy's house yesterday.
We're going to get him a bowl haircut, but the bowl on his head and shave him to around the
He kind of does, and then it flips up. He's like straight out of the 70s. Michael, you're talking about. Or sorry, Josh, you're talking about, right?
Yes.
The older one, the 16-year-old. His hair is out of control, but whatever.
I'm going to fix it.
Well, yeah, but...
Get him an Elon cut.
Oh my gosh, he'd freak out. So what are you hoping to accomplish before you leave to go back home?
Go home in one piece.
Okay, so meaning like you don't get COVID or you...
Not be totally freaked out. Don't have COVID.
Okay, who cares about COVID? Okay. What do you mean go back in one piece? So what do you mean by that?
That I'm not all screwed up like I was when I came back from the driving school. You don't know how screwed up I was.
Oh, I know how screwed up you were when you came back because you were a mess. And I tried
Just
to
ask
like...
your mom how I was doing.
Well, I don't know how you were when you got home afterwards, but I know how you were that night, and I'm sorry. And it was probably just a lack of sleep and a lot of stress. And
it was the stress, and I was super stressed out.
So you don't handle stress very well.
I was remembering a lot of stuff from 30, 40 years ago that are bothering me.
Oh, because we started talking about it.
Well, more than that. It's just that stress churns all that stuff up. I didn't sleep well for about a week.
Well,
Send it to Rollins out and we will want.
I'm very sorry about that. So I was talking to David the other day, but when we were going to come pick you up, that's when I finally learned about the whole Dayton Mafia thing and setting your car on fire.
I know about the Step Brothers. I know who they are.
Right, and what's crazy is I knew your car had burned, and you never really explained it to me as a kid, or maybe I just didn't ask. But like now that as an adult we're talking about it, I'm like, oh, that's what happened. He set your car on fire. Yeah.
They torched it.
As like a message to stay away from Joni and her kids, I guess. Because she lied to them and told them that you beat her, but when the reality was is that James Burt was the one that was abusive to her and the kids.
Probably. I don't know.
That's what Meredith and David confided to me yesterday.
Burt was a weirdo.
Yeah. He would make...
Read about him.
Supposedly he would make David go out and like pick his own like switch out of the trees and like have to bring it back and they would beat him with it. And they never did that to Rick. And then he says supposedly on his deathbed that was his one thing is he wanted to apologize for being so cruel to David.
Why was he doing it?
Because something about David reminded him of Joni. I guess because he looked more like Joni.
Yes.
And he was very controlling and manipulative of Joni.
Joni's just cool.
She's still alive. We're never going to find her. We know that. We're not contacting her.
I spent about a half an hour time. Don't dig around.
We know.
We need her for anything.
The only thing is that she might surface if like her sister were to pass away or something like that. And then we'd all be at the funeral.
Not me.
But we're going to try and call Carol probably tomorrow, Carol Shoemaker, the one who's 83 who helped me find David, who hadn't talked to Joni in over 23 years.
Tell her to stay away. She's bad news.
Well, Joni caused a lot of stress, obviously, in this whole family.
The only person in that whole family that was absolutely cool was Richard.
Yeah.
Was cool.
But you heard he had like Alzheimer's the last 6 or 8 years of his life, really bad. At least that's what Carol told me over the phone. That it was unfair, but he was everybody's favorite.
There was an older brother too, and I don't recall his name. There was another.
I can find it. The obituaries are amazing for information like that.
An older brother. He's the one that had the Packard Fastback, the old big Packard,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had that. We'd go out in the snow and drive that thing. It was like a tank.
Yeah. So if you hit something, you're more worried about what you're hitting, not the car.
It was an old beater, but it was like a tank. Just friggin' amazing. I wouldn't mind having another one. I wouldn't if I could find one.
If we could meet with Carol, would you want to meet up with Carol? Do you remember Carol at all?
Because
she lived in Hawaii with you guys.
I know who Carol is.
She lived in Hawaii with you guys. She adopted kids from Hawaii.
We stayed with her for about a week until we got some lodging, and then I was gone for a while.
Right.
And when I came back, Joni was screwing around with somebody. I don't know who it was.
But you didn't ask my question. Would you want to meet Carol if you had the opportunity? She's 83. And she's taking care of her senile husband who's gone into full Alzheimer's now. And she's trying to make amends.
Her husband was nice.
And she said it was her super Bob Shoemaker, super nice guy. But she is his 100% caretaker. And she figures life's too short. Her life is coming to an end near, seeing her husband go through this. And she only wants to make peace with whoever wants to make peace.
I don't need to make peace with her.
That's fine.
I don't know her, okay?
And it's honestly David's responsibility if he wants to contact her, because it's his aunt.
He can do that. My feeling about the whole thing is the less contact you have with those contacts that are familiar with Joni, the better.
Right, and so Carol doesn't. Carol was cut off almost 25 years ago from Joni.
I don't need to talk.
So Joni goes by Elaine now. Do you know that, right? She changed her name legally to Elaine. So nobody knows her as Joan. But we know, this too. Like, I think I told you this. She's been married at least 7 times. Possibly 8.
Yeah, serial monogamy.
But we have 7 marriage certificates that we found. I found one that Dave didn't even know about. And that was the one she got married to a guy after you, before she married Bert.
That's the guy that probably helped her empty the house out.
Yes, he worked for the electric company.
I'm not surprised.
Which is where Rick worked, or Richard worked, right? It was the same place that Richard worked.
Richard, yeah, I think he did work for the power company.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's how she met one of Richard's friends. I don't know.
She worshipped Richard. That's why Ricky is Ricky Richard.
I know. We're going to meet Ricky on Monday. I'm going to meet him. Ricky has memories of you?
He has memories of you.
Yeah, because he was about 4.5 when he saw you last. He remembers you.
Vaguely, probably.
Yeah. But he went on to become like a VP at Ford, just like your brother at GM?
Yeah, I don't know how high.
He went as high as Tony.
He did?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? But for Ford, not for GM.
But he's a good politician.
He's probably like your brother, is my guess a little bit.
My brother's not all screwed up.
Oh, we're all screwed up, Dad. Is anybody normal? Is normal?
Really screwed up. Somebody tell me.
You think so?
Well, one day
God's got it
when
figured
my
out.
kids have this video and they can watch it, we're all passed away, they'll be grateful for it. And you all can be laughing in your graves.
We'll be poking our fingers up through the dirt.
Well,
There's always a skeleton in
Right, Don?
everybody's closet, right? All right. Anything else you want to say before I click off?
No.
Merry Christmas, Happy New
Merry
Year,
Christmas, Happy New Year, and goodbye. Shut it off.
2021. Bye.
What do I take away from all this, right? From this whole interaction of David getting to meet our dad and my dad's reaction, the family's reaction is, you know, at the end of the day, I look back and I think there's definitely some selfish motivations, right? Why did I do this, right? What was the driving factor here? And yeah, I have to admit I was selfish. I wanted to find my sibling. I desired and longed for a sibling my whole life, right? And I see my kids have interactions and with their siblings, and I know Dawn's family has, you know, lots and lots of siblings, and some talk to each other and some don't talk to each other, and all I've ever wanted was a sibling. And I thought, you know, I probably did this for selfish reasons, but beyond just my own selfish needs, to have this extended family, to have this family unit that's just more than my parents, who are awesome people, but maybe not the people that other people are trying to add to their life because they're a little bit eccentric, a little bit quirky. They come with their own set of baggage, so to speak. But to find these other people in my life was that for David, the closure that I was able to give him, the understanding that no, your dad isn't dead. Yes, you have extended family. Yes, they care about you. Yes, they want to involve you in their lives. Yes, they want to be part of your lives because you're important. You know, that to me is something I want to convey and I want to teach my family, my kids, you know, my extended family that for years operated on fear, like, you know, stay away from him because she's terrible or whatever, you know, not realizing that there was an innocent kid on the other end of the story, you know, David, who's now 51-year-old adult, right? That really needed this, like really truly needed this. And if I had been fearful or selfish or apprehensive, like everybody was telling me to do, you know, he would have been left unfulfilled in that respect. And I'm so glad I could give him that, but also give him that family network, that ability for him to connect with not only his father, but another sibling, help me connect with his other half sibling, and create this family unit that he would have had no way of doing. And I didn't have to do it. Like at the end of the day, everybody's like, why would you do this? Why would you cause stress to your father? Why would you cause stress to your family? Your dad told you not to do it. Everybody told you not to do this. And I'm like, because it was the right thing to do. And I still adamantly believe it's the right thing to do. And if David had turned out to be a sociopath psycho killer, I still would have said it's the right thing to do. Because everybody deserves to have a relationship with their biological family. And whether they're perfect or they're not perfect, I don't know a single family that's perfect, right? And, you know, my family sucks because my dad made some decisions that I don't agree with today, but I didn't live in his shoes when he made those decisions. I'm making decisions now as an adult for my family, and this was the right decision. I have zero regrets. The only thing is I wish I would have done it sooner, maybe, you know, 10 years sooner, but I think maybe this was just the right time for everybody. Everybody was in a place in their life where they could accept this, they could embrace this, maybe it was the right time, right? Maybe if I'd done it in my 20s, it wouldn't have been the right time. Maybe there would have still been a lot of deep-seated fear. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to find David because he was in Afghanistan or wherever, right? Like it just worked out. And I'm extremely grateful. And I see us now as all one big happy family. I've got this, like, my quirky, weird family just got bigger and quirkier. Like, it's awesome. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Most beautiful.
Oh, right. So, and just talking about David in particular, David, in spite of all the crap that he's been through, all the abuse, all the neglect, all the marriages that his mom put him through, right? He is this amazing human being who has this great capacity for love and caring and, you know, even more caring and more of a caretaker even than I am. And I'm kind of always like, make sure everybody has what they need, but maybe I'm not the big huggy person, but I'm always like making sure everybody has what they need. And it's so weird to be involved now with my brother who so kindly insisted on carrying my purse at the airport. Like when I come over and I you know, it's obvious that I have a limp or maybe I'm not feeling great or I have a headache. He's the one who's like, hey sis, what can I do? Can I help you? And it's so amazing to have that because really there was nobody else in my life doing that. And he's just a beautiful, beautiful person that I think everybody should be grateful now that they're in their lives, that he's in our lives. So one last fun story to kind of complete out this whole storyline that I will say specifically, my dad asked me not to record him, but as an adult, he can't control me. I'm not going to go into lurid details, but I'm afraid that if I don't tell at least a piece of this story, that it might get lost forever. And to be totally honest, we're not 100% sure that we believe the story as he was telling it, but I think it still deserves a mention so that we can, you know, talk about this 10, 20 years from now and be like, oh, you remember that story when Pat talked about, you know, working for the CIA? Right? Because at some point he may not be able to convey the story or, you know, it'll get lost over time. So I don't want this to get lost. So in 1969, my Uncle Tony and Aunt Jan were getting married, and my dad was supposed to be the best man at that wedding. at the time, my dad lived in Hawaii with his wife, Joni, and their stepson, her son from a previous marriage, who now goes by Rick. My Uncle Tony was going to have the wedding, and for whatever reason, and nobody seems to remember all the details because, this is like 50 years later, more than 50 years later, that my dad did not come to the wedding. Instead, he sent his wife and his stepson to the wedding. And there are pictures, we can verify, there are pictures at Tony's wedding of Joni and Rick at the wedding. And I asked my dad, why weren't you there? And he told me in private with my mom, sort of like, they're looking at each other like, do we tell her? Do we not tell her? And I'm like, what would you not tell me? I'm a 45-year-old adult. Like, what can I not handle, right? I think I've discovered a lot now, right? Like, what is it that I can't handle? And he conveyed to me that somewhere in that time frame of the late 60s, and possibly this is why he didn't go to Tony's wedding, is that he was wrapping things up in Hawaii, which I don't know. I guess the story he'd gone bankrupt, but that doesn't exactly jive with what he's telling me. But he said that he was asked by a government contractor to fly airplanes over Cambodia during the Vietnam War. And that he was brought in from when he was living in Hawaii on a big cargo plane. I forget the name of the plane, DC something, right? Into whatever the base was over there in Vietnam. And from there, he was being asked to fly these PC-6s, which is a type of plane that's designed for landing on a very short runway and to be able to hit altitude very quickly. So like if you're landing in a valley, right? And so he was then tasked from going from this main base into Cambodia with cargo that he would drop off, and then he would pick up cargo and bring it back to the base. And the reason he didn't want to talk about this in detail is he felt very strongly that the cargo he was being asked to pick up was heroin. And he felt like the government contractor he was working for was legitimately working for the government, but maybe not under the pretense of like public acknowledgement. And that he said the one thing he remembered about these experiences is that they'd come in, there would be like, he said like a dozen or more guys that would come in. They'd go out in two-man crews on these planes. And he said a lot of the guys never came back. And that's what he started like getting choked up about and very emotional. That he thought maybe 3 or 4 times on these trips where they brought him in. He would do these flights, come back. I don't know if he did like another flight, but whatever, came back again to Vietnam. So he was doing this more than once, according to him. And that when he was flying these planes in these conditions in Cambodia and Vietnam, that there was 0 to no visibility. Like it was like he described it a little bit like Air America, the movie, where you're flying in like a cowboy into these places that you're not really supposed to be in under a pretense of government, but really the government wouldn't acknowledge you even if you were there. I asked him, why would you do this? Like my dad's not exactly a thrill seeker. Like, I mean, he likes to own expensive toys that go fast, but like, why would you do this? And he said, because the money was amazing. And he couldn't say no to the opportunity for the money he made. So I don't know what happened to all that money that he was making, but I do know that he owned very expensive sports cars in this time frame. He was starting businesses. He was investing in business. He thinks of himself as an entrepreneur. So maybe he made some poor investments with this fast cash that he made from this government contractor. I don't know the whole details, but the story from the family was that he had to come back from Hawaii because he went bankrupt. So I don't know exactly when this time frame occurred of him flying covert missions over Cambodia to pick up loads of heroin and bring it back to a government base. But, and I don't even know if it's 100% true, but I like watching my dad and the body language I could read from his experiences with Joni, from, other times in my life, I believe him. I have to say there has to be at least a significant grain of truth to this conversation. And about the specific plane, I doubt that he made this out of thin air. But I guess we'll never know for sure because nobody's going to verify it publicly. So that should be another story that we keep in the family.